Captain Li Huan gripped the armrest of his command chair as the UES Teguk drifted through the dark void near Kepler 442. The massive exploration ship hummed with quiet energy, its crew of 300 working tirelessly to unlock the mysteries of deep space. For 6 months they had been chasing ghost signals and phantom energy readings that made no sense according to Earth's scientific models. "Another dead end," muttered Lieutenant Commander Xin Wu-jin from the navigation station. His fingers traced holographic star charts that showed nothing but empty space where their sensors detected impossible energy spikes. Captain Li stood and walked to the massive viewport that dominated the bridge's front wall. Beyond the reinforced transparent aluminum, stars twinkled like distant diamonds against the black canvas of space. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its daily routine, completely unaware that humanity's first deep space exploration vessel was hunting for answers to questions they barely knew how to ask. "Sir, we've been scanning this sector for weeks," said Tactical Officer Cho Min-soo, his voice carrying the exhaustion they all felt. "Maybe Command was wrong about these readings. Could be natural phenomena we don't understand yet." Lee turned back to his crew. These men and women had volunteered for a 5-year mission into the unknown, leaving behind families and lives on Earth to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Each face on the bridge told a story of sacrifice and determination that made him proud to be human. "One more sweep," he decided. "Then we'll move to the next grid coordinate." The bridge settled into familiar rhythm. Park Nari hunched over her communications console, monitoring frequencies that had remained silent for decades. Her dark hair fell across her face as she fine-tuned receivers that could detect whispers from across the galaxy. Kim Dae-ho worked at the science station, running calculations that would make Einstein's head spin. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge flickered. "What was that?" Lee demanded, spinning toward his crew. Park Nari's eyes went wide. Her hands froze over her controls as data streamed across her monitors. "Captain, I'm detecting something. It's not natural background radiation." The bridge's ambient lighting dimmed automatically as the ship's computers redirected power to sensors. Everyone held their breath as Park Nari worked to isolate the signal that had taken decades to find. "Sir, we're receiving a structured transmission," she announced, her voice barely above a whisper. Mathematical sequences flowed across her screens in patterns too complex and organized to be random cosmic noise. "The signal is artificial, definitely artificial." Lee felt his heart pound against his ribs. After 57 years of faster-than-light travel, after building ships that could cross the galaxy, after searching every corner of local space, they had finally found it. Proof that humanity wasn't alone. "Can you decode it?" he asked, moving to stand behind Park Nari's station. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces as she fed the signal through translation algorithms. "It's using prime number sequences as a base, but there's something else embedded in the transmission. Give me a moment." The entire bridge crew gathered around the communications station. Kim Dae-ho pulled up additional screens, his scientific mind racing to understand what they were witnessing. Cho Min-soo kept one eye on tactical displays, ready for anything. "My God," Park Nari breathed. "Captain, this isn't just first contact. It's a distress call." The translated message appeared on the main screen, and everyone read it in stunned silence. Multiple species were broadcasting desperate pleas for help. Names of civilizations they had never heard of filled the text. Astrians, Velkari, Zentorians, and dozens of others, all sending the same terrified message across the galaxy. "They're asking for help against something called the Devourers," Kim Dae-ho read aloud. "According to this, entire worlds have been consumed." Lee felt cold dread creep up his spine. Humanity had spent decades wondering if they would find peaceful neighbors among the stars. The possibility of hostile alien life had always existed, but somehow it seemed like science fiction until this moment. The bridge of the Teguk transformed into a light show as alien technology interfaced with human systems. Captain Lee watched in amazement as geometric patterns appeared in the air above the holographic projectors, spinning and reshaping themselves into something that resembled a communication portal. "Sir, they're trying to establish contact," Park Nari reported. her voice tight with excitement and fear. "The signal is incredibly sophisticated. It's like they're reaching through dimensions to talk to us." "Let them through," Lee ordered, though every instinct screamed danger. "But keep weapons hot and shields at maximum." The air shimmered and crackled with energy. Then, as if stepping through an invisible doorway, an alien being materialized on the bridge of their ship. The crew collectively gasped and stepped backward, hands instinctively moving toward their weapons. The creature stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body covered in skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Forearms moved with fluid grace, each ending in hands that had too many fingers. But it was the eyes that captured everyone's attention, large, expressive, and filled with an emotion that needed no translation. Pure, desperate fear. "Please," the being spoke, and somehow they could understand every word. "Do not be afraid. I am Commander Velthara of the Astrian Collective. We mean you no harm." Kim Deho stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his caution. "How are we understanding you? We've never encountered your language before." Velthara's form flickered slightly, like a bad television signal. "Universal Translator, Matrix. We've been monitoring your species for some time, your linguistic patterns, your mathematics, your basic communication structures." "You've been watching us?" Cho Min-soo demanded, his hand moving closer to his sidearm. "For how long?" "Since you first achieved faster-than-light travel," Velthara replied. "Every species that develops FTL technology sends ripples through subspace. We catalog new civilizations, hoping to welcome them into the galactic community." Captain Lee felt a chill run down his spine. "But you're not here to welcome us, are you?" Velthara's large eyes closed for a moment, and when they opened again, the desperation was even more pronounced. "No, I'm here to warn you, to beg for your help, though I fear it may already be too late." The holographic alien began pacing, its forearms gesturing as it spoke. "Tell me, Captain, how long has your species possessed faster-than-light travel?" 57 years, Lee answered carefully. 57 years. Velthara's voice carried what sounded like disappointment. "So young, so impossibly young. Most species require centuries to develop the technology and wisdom needed for deep space warfare." "Warfare?" Park Nari whispered. Velthara's form brightened, becoming more solid. "The Devourers have been sweeping through this sector for the past decade. 17 civilizations have fallen to them. Worlds that took millions of years to evolve complex life, cultures that had existed for millennia, technologies that could reshape reality itself, all consumed in a matter of days." Kim Deho pulled up a holographic display showing local star systems. "These civilizations, where were they located?" With a gesture from Velthara, red markers appeared on the display. Each marker represented a dead world, a silenced voice in the cosmic chorus. The pattern was terrifying. The Devourers were moving in a straight line through inhabited space, and Earth lay directly in their path. "What exactly are these Devourers?" Lee asked, though part of him didn't want to know the answer. "Biomechanical entities. They strip worlds of all organic matter, converting it into their ships, their weapons, their bodies. Every life form they consume makes them stronger. Every world they devour increases their fleet size." Cho Min-soo studied the tactical implications. "Your species? The Astrians. You fought them." "My people were part of the Kepler Alliance. 12 species working together to stop the advance. We had technology your species hasn't dreamed of yet. Weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand the energy output of a star, ships that could move faster than light without entering hyperspace." "And?" Lee prompted. "And we failed." Velthara's shoulders slumped. "My fleet was the last line of defense. 300 ships, the finest warriors from a dozen worlds. We lasted exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's systems. Everyone was processing the implications of what they had just heard. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of maybe 50 ships, most of them exploratory vessels like the Taeguk. "So why come to us?" Lee asked. "If civilizations with technology far beyond ours couldn't stop them, what makes you think humanity can help?" For the first time since materializing on their bridge, something like hope flickered in Velthara's large eyes. Because you're human. What's that supposed to mean? We've been monitoring your species, studying your history, your culture, your response to impossible situations. Most intelligent species develop logic first, then emotion. You humans are different. You feel first, then think. And when faced with overwhelming odds, you do something that defies all logic, which is, you refuse to surrender. Before anyone could respond to this strange compliment, every alarm on the bridge began screaming at once. Yang So-young's voice cut through the chaos from her sensor station. Captain, multiple massive contacts dropping out of hyperspace, distance 2 million kilometers, and closing fast. The main view screen shifted to show space around them. Reality tore open in a dozen places as enormous shapes emerged from the void. These weren't ships in any sense that humans understood. They were living nightmares, biomechanical monstrosities that pulsed with stolen life energy, their hulls writhing with organic components that had once been entire ecosystems. Dear God, Kim Dae-ho breathed. How big are those things? Each ship is approximately the size of your moon, Velthara said quietly, and they're heading straight for us. Captain Lee stared at the tactical display as 12 massive shapes emerged from the twisted tiers in space-time. The Devourer ships weren't just large, they were impossibly huge, each one dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls rippled and pulsed like living tissue, covered in what looked like veins that glowed with sickly green light. Sir, I'm reading organic signatures mixed with metallic components, Kim Dae-ho reported, his voice shaking. These things aren't just ships, they're alive. The largest Devourer vessel turned toward them, and Lee could swear he saw something that looked like eyes opening along its hull. Massive alien eyes that focused on their tiny human ship with predatory intelligence. Emergency transmission to all human vessels in this sector, Lee commanded, grabbing the communication microphone. His voice echoed through the bridge and out into the void. This is Captain Lee Hwan of the UES Taguk. We have hostile contact with unknown alien aggressors. Repeat, we are under attack by hostile alien forces. All ships converge on my position. Immediately. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within minutes, 3 more human ships dropped out of hyperspace, their engines screaming as they pushed maximum speed to reach the Taguk. Arirang and Dokdo reporting for duty, Captain, came the voice of Captain Oh Sung-min from the destroyer. Arirang. What are we looking at here? Lee watched as the 2 destroyers took flanking positions around the Taguk. These weren't exploration vessels like his ship. They were humanity's attempt at building proper warships, bristling with missile launchers and plasma cannons. Halasan. Arriving on scene, announced Captain Dr. Lim Hae-jin from the science vessel. My God! Lee, what are those things? 4 human ships against 12 alien monstrosities. Lee did the math in his head and didn't like the answer. Each Devourer ship was easily 100 times larger than their biggest destroyer. It was like bringing pocket knives to a nuclear war. Commander Velthara's holographic form flickered with what looked like panic. Captain, you cannot engage these creatures. My people had ships that could shatter asteroids with a single shot. We had shields that could absorb the energy of exploding stars. None of it mattered. How many ships did your alliance bring to the fight? Lee asked. 3,000 vessels from 12 different species, the finest warriors in known space. And you lasted 4 hours? 4 hours and 17 minutes, Velthara confirmed miserably. Lee looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Park Nari was pale but determined, her hands steady on her controls. Cho Min-soo checked his weapons one more time, ready for a fight he knew they couldn't win. Kim Dae-ho was still analyzing the enemy ships, searching for any possible weakness. Well, Lee said with a grim smile, I guess we'll have to do better than 4 hours. Engineer Bae Jun-ho suddenly looked up from his console. Captain, I've been studying their hull composition. These biomechanical components, they're using organic neural pathways to coordinate their systems. If we could overload those pathways with a massive electromagnetic pulse— It won't work, Velthara interrupted. The Zentorians tried exactly that strategy. The Devourers adapted within minutes. They learn from every attack, every tactic used against them. Maybe, Bay said stubbornly, but they've never faced human engineering before. Our EMP technology works differently than anything else in the galaxy. We use quantum interference patterns that shouldn't be compatible with organic neural networks, Lee studied the tactical display. The Devourer ships were moving into an attack formation, their organic hulls beginning to glow brighter as they charged their weapons. Whatever they were going to do, they needed to do it fast. All ships, this is Lee. We're going to try something that's probably going to get us all killed. He opened the channel to all 4 human vessels. Prepare for attack pattern handbook. We're going in fast and unpredictable. Sir, Cho Min-soo said quietly, attack pattern handbook doesn't exist. We just made that name up during training exercises. Exactly, Lee replied, which means the enemy has no idea what we're about to do. Neither do we, for that matter. The crew of the Taeguk strapped themselves in as Lee gave the order that would either save humanity or doom them all. All ships, full power to engines. We're charging straight at the biggest one. Captain, Park Nari called out, I'm detecting massive energy build-up from the lead Devourer ship. They're targeting us. Through the view screen they could see the alien vessel's hull splitting open like a flower. Inside, something that looked like a massive organic cannon was taking aim at their small fleet. Evasive maneuvers, Lee shouted. The Taeguk rolled and dove as a beam of pure destruction lanced through space where they had been seconds before. The energy beam was so powerful it continued past them and struck a distant asteroid, completely vaporizing the rock in an instant. All ships, follow my lead, Lee commanded. We're going to show these things what humans do when the odds are. Impossible. The 4 human ships accelerated toward certain death, their crews ready to fight against enemies that had already destroyed civilizations far more advanced than their own. But as Commander Velthara watched in amazement, none of the humans showed any sign of fear or hesitation. They were doing exactly what humans had always done when faced with overwhelming odds. They were charging straight into the teeth of the enemy, refusing to back down even when logic demanded retreat. The space around Kepler 442 exploded into chaos as the battle began. Massive bioweapons from the Devourer ships carved through the void, leaving trails of destructive energy that could have melted entire cities. The human fleet scattered like leaves in a hurricane, their tiny ships darting between attacks that were never meant to miss. Evasive pattern delta, Captain Lee shouted as a beam of organic plasma scorched past the Taeguk's hull. The ship's armor plating glowed red-hot, where the alien weapon had barely grazed them. All ships, stay mobile. Don't give them a stationary target. The Arirang spun through a series of impossible turns, its pilot pushing the destroyer's engines beyond their design limits. Captain Oh Sung-min gripped his command chair as his ship shuddered under the stress. Lee, these things are too big. Our weapons aren't even scratching their hulls. Then we don't fight their hulls, Lee replied, studying the tactical display. The Devourer ships were coordinating their attacks with terrifying precision, but there was something about their movement patterns that reminded him of a hive mind. Target their neural clusters, those glowing spots along their spines. The Docto rolled beneath a Devourer ship and opened fire with everything it had. Missiles and plasma bolts slammed into the alien vessel's underside, finally drawing what looked like alien blood, a green fluid that leaked from punctured biomechanical components. "We're hurting them," shouted Captain Kim Tae-won from the Docto. "Keep hitting the soft spots." But the Devourers were learning. As the human ships attacked, the alien vessels began adapting their defenses. Organic armor plating shifted and thickened around vulnerable areas. Energy weapons that had been effective moments before suddenly became useless as the creatures developed immunity. "They're adapting too fast," Cho Min-soo reported from his tactical station. "Every weapon we use becomes less effective within minutes." That's when Captain Oh Sung-min made a decision that would be remembered throughout human history. His destroyer, the Arirang, had taken heavy damage from multiple hits. His shields were failing, his weapons were nearly depleted, and his engines were overheating dangerously. "All hands brace for impact," he announced to his crew over the ship's intercom. "We're going to show these things what happens when you corner a human." The Arirang suddenly changed course, accelerating directly toward the largest Devourer ship. Its engines already pushed beyond their limits, began overloading as the captain diverted all available power to the drive systems. "Sung Min, what are you doing?" Lee demanded over the communication channel. "What humans do best," O replied calmly. "Something completely insane." The destroyer slammed into the Devourer ship's main neural cluster at nearly half the speed of light. The explosion lit up space like a miniature star, and for the first time since the battle began, one of the seemingly invincible alien vessels faltered. Its coordinated movements became erratic, and the green energy flowing through its hull flickered and dimmed. "My God," Commander Velthara whispered. "He actually damaged it." But the victory came at a terrible cost. The Arirang was gone, along with Captain O and his entire crew of 80 brave souls. Lee felt their loss like a physical blow, but there was no time to mourn. The remaining Devourer ships were converging on their position, and they had adapted to prevent future ramming attacks. "Captain," Dr. Lim Hyejin's voice crackled over the communication system from the science vessel Halasan. "I've been analyzing their biosignatures during the fight. Their organic components are based on quantum-entangled proteins, but they're rejecting certain types of energy fluctuations." "In plain language, Doctor," Lee shouted as another plasma beam barely missed his ship. "If we reverse our shield polarity and channel the energy directly into their hulls, we might be able to disrupt their entire nervous system." It was crazy. Ship shields were designed to deflect energy, not project it outward. Reversing the polarity could destroy their own defensive systems and leave them completely vulnerable. But it might also turn their shields into weapons. "Do it," Lee ordered. "All ships reverse shield polarity and ram the nearest target." Engineer Bei Jun-ho's hands flew over his controls, reconfiguring systems that were never meant to work in reverse. "Sir, this could overload our entire power grid." "Then we better make it count," Lee replied. The Taeguk dove toward a Devourer ship, its reversed shields creating a bubble of destructive energy around the hull. When they made contact, the alien vessel's biomechanical components began convulsing as incompatible energy patterns tore through its nervous system. The Doc Do tried the same tactic, but its shield generators exploded under the stress. Captain Kim refused to retreat, instead launching every escape pod his ship carried, but not with people inside. The pods had been filled with experimental nanobots from the ship's research lab, tiny machines designed to break down organic matter for study. The nanobots began consuming the Devourer ship's hull from the inside, eating through the biomechanical components faster than the creature could regenerate. For the first time, the aliens seemed to experience something like pain, their ships writhing and shrieking across subspace frequencies. Dr. Lim aboard the Halasan watched the battle with scientific fascination. "They're not just ships," she reported. "They're living creatures, and they're panicking." The human fleet was down to 3 ships, all heavily damaged and running on backup power. By every military standard, they should have been destroyed within the first few minutes of combat. But somehow they were winning through sheer human stubbornness and creativity. Commander Velthara stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "Impossible," she whispered. "They're actually winning." The battlefield had become a graveyard of twisted metal and dying alien flesh. 11 massive Devourer ships floated lifeless in the void, their biomechanical hulls no longer pulsing with stolen life energy. But the largest ship, the one that seemed to command the others, was still alive and trying to escape. Captain Lee watched through the Taeguk's cracked view screen as the wounded alien vessel began to retreat. Its hull rippled and shifted, trying to seal the massive wounds that human weapons had torn through its organic armor. Green fluid leaked from dozens of punctures, creating a trail of alien blood that glowed in the starlight. "Sir, the remaining Devourer is charging its jump drive," reported Pargnari, her voice hoarse from hours of battle. "If it escapes, it could warn others of its kind about our tactics." Lee's jaw tightened. The thought of this creature reaching another world, another defenseless civilization, made his blood boil. "All remaining ships, form up on my position. We're not letting that thing escape." The response was immediate but heartbreaking. Only 2 voices answered his call. Captain Kim from the Doctor, his ship barely holding together with emergency repairs, and Dr. Lim from the science vessel Halasan, her normally pristine research ship now scarred by battle damage. "Lee, we're running on fumes here," Kim reported. "My weapons are offline, shields are gone, and I've got hull breaches on 6 decks. "Same here," Dr. Lim added. "But we're with you, Captain. Whatever you're planning, we're in." The 3 battered human ships limped into formation around the key Taeguk. They looked like toys compared to the massive Devourer ship, but they had already proven that size wasn't everything in this fight. Suddenly, a young voice spoke up from the rear of the bridge. Petty Officer Han Ji-woo, barely 18 years old, and fresh out of the academy, raised his hand nervously. "Captain, I have an idea. It's probably crazy," but Lee turned to the young man. Han had been assigned to the Taeguk as part of his training cruise, expecting to spend his time cataloging star formations and running routine system checks. Instead, he had found himself in humanity's first interstellar war. "Let's hear it." "Son?" Han stood up, his uniform torn and dirty from the battle. "Sir, what if we don't try to destroy the ship? What if we make it destroy itself?" "Explain." The young officer moved to the navigation console, his hands shaking as he pulled up technical diagrams. "Our jump drives work by creating artificial wormholes in space-time. Usually we open the wormhole in front of us and travel through it. But what if we opened one inside the enemy ship?" Chief Engineer Bae Jun-ho looked up from his damaged console. "That's impossible. You can't create a wormhole inside solid matter." "Not solid matter," Han insisted, "but their ships are partially organic. Living tissue has quantum properties that might allow wormhole formation if we modulate the frequency correctly." Dr. Lim's voice crackled over the communication system. "The boy might be onto something. I've been studying their biosignatures. Their organic components exist in a quantum superposition state. If we could destabilize that, we could create a wormhole that tears the ship apart from the inside," Lee finished. He looked around the bridge at his exhausted crew. "What are the risks?" Bay's expression was grim. "If we miscalculate, we could tear a hole in local space-time. The gravitational effects could destroy everything within a light-year radius, including Earth's solar system." The bridge fell silent. Earth was only 12 light-years away. If something went wrong, they could doom their entire home system. "Captain," Han said quietly, "I've run the calculations 3 times. I'm 90% certain it will work." "And the other 10%? "We all die horribly and take half the galaxy with us." Lee looked out at the escaping Devourer ship. In a few more minutes it would jump to hyperspace and disappear. It would carry news of humanity's tactics to other Devourer fleets, making future battles much harder. Worse, it might lead them directly to Earth. "Do it," he decided. The next few minutes were the longest of everyone's lives. Han worked frantically at the navigation console, reconfiguring the jump drive to do something it was never designed to do. Bay rerouted power from every non-essential system, pushing their damaged ship beyond its limits, one final time. Wormhole forming inside the target, Han reported, sweat beading on his forehead. Quantum field destabilization in progress. Through the view screen, they watched as the massive Devourer ship began to twist and distort. Reality itself seemed to be bending around the alien vessel, as space-time warped in impossible ways. The creature's death scream echoed across subspace frequencies, a sound of pure agony that every sentient being within 50 light-years would hear. The ship imploded, its massive bulk collapsing into a gravitational singularity that lasted for exactly 3.7 seconds before evaporating in a burst of Hawking radiation. "Target destroyed," Park Nari reported unnecessarily. Everyone could see that the Devourer was gone, leaving only empty space where the massive ship had been. Captain Lee slumped in his command chair, exhaustion finally catching up with him. They had done it. 4 human ships had defeated 12 alien vessels that had destroyed entire civilizations. It seemed impossible, but the evidence floated around. Them in the form of twisted alien wreckage. "Sir," Yang So-young called from her sensor station, "I'm detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Lots of them." Lee's heart sank. More Devourers. After everything they had been through, were they about to face another wave of attacks? But the ships that emerged from hyperspace weren't biomechanical monstrosities. They were sleek, crystalline vessels like Commander Velthara's ship, accompanied by dozens of other designs representing species from across the galaxy. "Captain Lee," Velthara's voice filled the bridge. "Rescue fleets from 12 different civilizations are arriving. Word of your victory has spread across subspace communication networks. The entire galaxy knows what humanity accomplished here today." Over the next few hours, as rescue ships arrived to assist the battered human fleet, Lee found himself face to face with representatives from civilizations he had never imagined. Tall, elegant beings with silver skin spoke of humanity's courage. Crystalline creatures that communicated through harmonic frequencies sang songs of human bravery. Even species that looked like living geometric shapes somehow conveyed their amazement at what 4 small human ships had accomplished. "How did you do it?" Velthara asked as medical teams worked to repair the Teguk. "How did such a young species defeat enemies that destroyed civilizations thousands of years older than yours?" Lee looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth, spinning peacefully in space, unaware that it had just been saved by the courage of 300 humans who refused to give up. "We're too stubborn to know when we're beaten," he said simply, "and sometimes that's exactly what the galaxy needs." Within days, the story spread throughout known space. Humanity, the newest members of the galactic community, had accomplished what no one else could. They had ended the Devourer threat, not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but through pure human determination and the willingness to try impossible things. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and it started not with conquest or colonization, but with 4 ships and their crews proving that sometimes the youngest voice in the room has the best ideas. The galaxy had found its newest protectors, and they came from a small blue planet where the inhabitants had never learned the meaning of the word surrender. The end. Before anyone could respond, space itself seemed to tear open in front of them. Blinding white light flooded the view screen as reality warped and twisted. The Teguk shuddered as gravitational waves washed over the hull. When the light faded, a massive alien vessel hung in space before them. The ship was unlike anything human engineers had ever imagined. Its hull seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with internal light. Elegant curves and impossible angles created a design that was both beautiful and terrifying. But the alien ship was clearly damaged. Sections of its crystalline hull were cracked and dark. Debris floated around it like a cloud of metallic snow. "Red alert!" Lee shouted. "All hands to battle stations." Alarms blared throughout the Teguk as the crew scrambled to respond. Weapon systems hummed to life, shields powered up, and every sensor focused on the alien vessel. After decades of peaceful exploration, humanity was about to face the unknown.